So I'm watching this episode of True Life, I Hate My Face, and both of these women are gorgeous. And why the hell am I watching this?
This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name.
I'm sorry it's been so long since my last vlog. It's not because I don't care, it's just because I hate you. It's also because I was in New York for Book Expo America last week and the Teen Author Carnival. For those of you who are unfamiliar with BEA, it's basically an all-day excuse to walk around and collect free, great books that are coming out in the fall. And it's also an excuse for book bloggers to come up and recognize you and make you feel more important than you really are. I love a good ego boost. While I was there, I decided to wear my yellow Wildfire apron. See? It says Cooking with Wildfire. And I had a lot of people come up and ask me why I was wearing an apron. And I had to be like, duh, because my coconut bra and my grass skirt are still at the dry cleaners. Speaking of things at the dry cleaners, I just picked up my vest, which was at the dry cleaners, because while I was out to dinner with my editor, my publicist, and Michelle Hodkin, I decided it would be a really great idea to flip an entire plate of quesadillas onto my lap and my vest. And then I did it again. But I swear, it was just because it was a really small, high-top table. Has nothing to do with the fact that I'm 26 and have yet to master full control of my limbs. But I'm really glad that I dumped the quesadillas on my lap because it actually provided the inspiration for this week's blog post. And that is the stupid shit that I do while writing. And there's a lot of it. That'll give you 3 examples. Now, most of the dumb things that I do happen while I'm in my plotting stages, which is when I tend to do a lot of pacing around the house and don't really pay attention to what I'm doing. And one of the new things I've been doing now that I have these bookcases is that I tend to go up to them and I pull a series of books and then put it back, and I always expect a secret passage to open up behind them, like in the movies. It never does. Have to get that installed. One of the dumbest things I've ever done while writing, I just happened to do last week. I was pacing around and picked up my glass of water and took a long drink from it. And that's when I realized it was the glass of water that's been sitting out for like 10 days. So being a total germaphobe, I completely freaked out and mouthwashed for like 10 minutes. That burned. And then I decided to disinfect myself from the inside, so I went to see what sort of alcohol we had in the fridge, and all we had was a nip of lemon-flavored rum and half a bottle of crappy champagne. That was the worst happy hour ever. Ever. And still, the stupid things that I do aren't limited to walking around. Some of it's at the computer. In an early draft of Wildfire, the main character, her name was actually Ashlyn Marsh. And then early into the draft, when I only had a couple of chapters, I decided to change her name to Ashlyn Wild, which is what stuck. And I did a find and replace for Marsh to turn it into Wild, without realizing that that would change all of the marshmallows in chapter 3. So I ended up with a trail of wild mallows through the book, which I did not notice for a long time. Wild mallows make terrible s'mores. Terrible. Before I skedaddle for the day, skedaddle, I thought I'd end by showing off some of the books that I picked up at BEA. Variant by Robeson Wells. Really excited to read this one, not only because it is a creepy private school story, which I'm a big fan of, as you could probably tell, but also because Robeson Wells has one of the coolest names ever. He sounds like he should be in a 1920s film. Rosebud. There's Scorpio Races by Maggie Stiefvater. I'm excited to read this because Maggie and I are agency-in-laws, and also because it's about horses. And if you didn't know already, the Knight family are descended from a long line of Centaurs. It's really tough to read that part of the family tree because it's difficult to hold a pen when you have hooves. Now my shirt is blue. Fracture by Megan Miranda. I love books that have really mysterious descriptions to the point that you almost can't even tell what they're about. So I, at one point, went over to the Walker booth at BEA and just crossed my arms and stared creepily until someone finally opened another box of Fracture, because they'd given all the other ones away. Shatter Me by Zahara Mafi. People are talking about being burned out on dystopian books, but my interest in them is pretty much a bottomless pit. And also, my parents almost named me Tahara, but I guess they decided I looked more like a Karsten. Fury of the Phoenix by Cindy Pon. Not only is Cindy awesome in real life, but I also have to give some Eastern mythology love. And lastly, Witch Eyes by our very own Scott Tracy. I wish this book sucked, so that I could ridicule Scott about it, but unfortunately the writing in the first 100 pages is beautiful. However, I can make fun of Scott, because he is the only person in the writing world who has an uglier signature than I do. Oh god, how old is this milk?